Everything in life is a decision. Happiness surrounds our life, even in the smallest ones we take. When we choose to do something that in return will give us pleasure, however, there are quality and quantity pleasures, which are constant debates in our mind. There are decisions that are easier to choose because of the low amount of effort required. However, they may not be the most adequate ones. When we choose to disrespect a teacher or forbid him or her to allow teaching a subject, we are in fact sustaining a quantity of pleasure. It is the nearer good, meaning easier to achieve than paying attention in class, given that this action would require more effort and concentration. Contrary to this, quality pleasures are practiced when ethics appear. Many may think that we should then only think about having quality pleasures in our lives. However, no one can do so. It is important to balance both and let ethical pleasures triumph when the opportunity rises. Likewise, when we debate whether to study or check social media, at the end we will get a bigger satisfaction from studying, having in mind it is a responsibility we behold.
¡Qué rabia, parce, qué rabia!
When we consider why we choose inferior pleasures that grant us much less satisfaction, this is because we don't have access to much higher pleasures. In the absence of enough resources, such as education and a trustworthy environment, both at home and at workplace, aggressiveness can prime and take over our ability to control ourselves. When a person continuously eats sweets and unhealthy food, even when doctors have recommended against it, the person chooses this because of the circumstances he or she has been raised in. If that person continues to cling on to these habits, he or she will possibly turn aggressive when these sweets are no longer in his or her disposition. In school, we can appreciate this debate when we choose to help our classmates or not. When a person decides to help the rest, he or she is constructing noble feelings that will prevent him from becoming a selfish person. When he puts the common interest above him, he will obtain a bigger satisfaction in return, contrary to what a person that decides not to will feel. This decision to remain uncooperative can be an aggressive response to what he or she may be experiencing at home, or a reflection of what he has been taught. In the long term, this might essentially backfire when this person is asked to work in groups and is incapable to do so. Happiness in our lives is also present when we decide to place others above ourselves and decide to help them in times of distress. In this case, governments or the authority may also be implied. Their efforts to improve humanitarian conditions, equality, and access to basic needs is an example of how human beings strengthen feelings of unity amongst a society. Nowadays, we are presencing a historic event with the rise of COVID-19, which has created a real time of crisis. The Colombian government, seeking to relieve the situation, has helped the most vulnerable populations of the country by giving out economic aid such as groceries. Banks too have worked to delay the pay of taxes and credits because of the lack of employment and work available during the time. These mechanisms the government has financed have indeed helped recession in the country slow down and ensure Colombians' welfare during quarantine. Another example of this is how enterprises have helped their employees survive during this pandemic outbreak. My father, who runs one of Colombia's biggest call centers, has helped over 5,000 employees in Medellin, Bogotá, Peru, and Paraguay work from home by giving them all their necessary equipment, such as computers. Our society is in times of distress, and continuing to build a supporting association is the most essential right now in order to succeed as a united nation. Utilitarianism is present in almost all the choices we make, given the fact that our happiness and possible future depends on the society, family, and education that we are surrounded by. My future especially depends on the choices I make today. My academic performance will affect the colleges I get into, and this will only be possible if I reduce habits that could be quantity pleasures, such as deciding to stay up late, using my phone instead of studying, and procrastinating. Utilitarianism can also reflect my life as to partying. Underage drinking and deciding to use fake IDs are examples of how I have chosen inferior pleasures many times, and how in return have ended badly, with much less pleasure afterwards. The idea of fighting with my parents after partying is a reminder of the choices I should make when I go out. I think utilitarianism is a reminder for us to remember the principles we have been taught since youngsters, and in general think about the decisions that we make that will help us grow. Concepts as simple as putting others above ourselves helping the most vulnerable, and striving to do our best are examples of values we have grown up with. Therefore, this topic and project is a way of reminding ourselves of these simple but powerful actions and decisions we take every day.